Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Tara Jones with Your Pretty Pennies with Tara Jones, and today we're going to be talking about how to maintain a high credit score. So if you've seen on social media that I shared that as of December 6, 2017, my credit score is 727, which is excellent. And it just continued to rise. It just continues to rise. So I just want to give you some tips here as I kind of share this out, how to maintain and, rebuild your credit if you're, in that stage where you need to rebuild it, and how to maintain it. Luckily, the same things you need to do to build it is the same thing you need to do to, retain it. So let me get this shared out here. All right. Because whether we like it or not, our society, especially in the United States, depends on, largely on credit. There we go. All right, so I'll share it out. All right, let's get into the content. So again, whether we like it or not, credit affects many areas of our lives, of our finances. It's the difference between getting a high interest loan, a low interest loan, how much we're approved for, if we get low or high monthly interest or monthly premiums on our insurance policies, being approved for a business loan. So some people think that their business and personal finances are separate, but when you first start going into business, like myself, I've been an entrepreneur since May, and if I even think about getting a business loan or a business line of credit, they're going to first look at my personal credit and say whether or not they're going to extend my business any business credit. If you want, again, a low interest rate on a home mortgage, you're thinking about buying your first home, you have to be aware that your credit is going to play a part. Or how about even just getting a rental or an apartment? I know a few years ago when I got my first apartment, they looked at my credit score and they let me know that it was good. But if it wasn't, I would have had to pay a huge deposit down. I think it was like the first and last month's rent if my credit was poor. But because it was good, I only had to pay like, I think, $50 deposit. So that really helped. Not to mention, you don't have to always rent with private landlords. Sometimes we'll see like on social media, or we'll see our friends who are requesting a list of private landlords in their area. And that's because their credit score or their credit report or something is wrong to where they need to speak with an individual, not a property management, not a rental management group that's going to automatically deny you for rental in the area that you want to live in. So we have to be kind of aware of these things as we start to advance our lifestyle and enhance our lifestyle, that credit does play a part. And before I take you down this wormhole of building and repairing and maintaining credit, I do want to first acknowledge that you do not absolutely need it, right? So there is information out there about how to achieve like major financial goals, how to live without a credit score, which means your credit score is zero. And when you have a zero credit score, that means you are not borrowing money from anyone, and you're only using your income and the money in your savings to completely fund your lifestyle. So like if you buy a home, if you have a zero credit score, you plan on buying a home with all cash. So let's say if you save up $150,000 to pay for your first home, that's what that means, that you're not using any type of income or any type of credit to fund anything that you want. And of course, if you're interested in learning more about attaining a zero credit score and not living on debt whatsoever, you could just do a quick Google search and you'll find it. So let's first start by saying that your credit score is based on a credit report. So how well your credit report shows is how well your credit score will be. And so there's three credit bureaus report your credit: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And regardless of the credit bureau, they all have the following information on your report. So your personal information, so that's your name, your address, your date of birth, social security number, your addresses, like your last known addresses, your employment, sometimes not, and sometimes. Negative accounts, so anything that's not paid for or paid late. And for all intents and purposes, that will decrease your credit worthiness. Positive things on your account. So anything that you've paid on time, anything that's in good standing. And these are what increases your credit worthiness and also your credit score. And then public court records. So if you have any judgments against you, so if you went to court for anything, if you have any tax liens or any other type of liens on your home or on yourself or on your business, bankruptcies, foreclosures, evictions, repossessions, child support, sometimes parking tickets, and sometimes criminal history. And now I list all of that because one of the things of having a great credit score and a great credit report is that you may be able to apply for high-level jobs and get approved in the enrollment process. Some jobs do look at your credit report, not your credit score, not the number, but the physical report and say, hey, she doesn't have any tax liens, she doesn't owe any child support, she doesn't go to court or get sued, she has never filed bankruptcy, she seems like a stable person. She doesn't have a criminal history, which can show up on your credit report. All these things let not only people who you're trying to get to lend you money know more about you, but also job employers. Some employers look at your credit history to see whether or not you're stable. So that's something to keep in mind. And the last thing that shows up on your credit report is inquiries, which are requests made from companies to review your credit report. So, for example, if you go and get an auto loan, or if you go get a mortgage loan, or if you go open up a credit card, those are inquiries. And other lenders likes to see how many times somebody else is pulling your report because you're requesting money from them. Because if you don't take anything else from this live stream, remember that lenders want to lend to people who don't need credit, but they're just using credit to leverage. That is the whole point of the reason why credit was founded in America, was to help people, do a business transaction or do a deal and where everybody comes out a win-win. When somebody lends you money, they don't want to run the risk of not getting their money back. So you have to realize that your credit report and your credit score is basically a picture showing whether or not you're the likelihood or whether or not you're good for what you say you are. Good for paying that money back. Good for paying off your house. Good for paying off that auto loan. Things like that. So the following items on your credit report, when you pull your credit report and all three of the credit bureaus, and we just went over that, the things that are negative on there are the following: high balances on your credit cards. So keep a zero balance at all times. I tell my clients, I know there's this thing going around that said, oh, you can use 20% of it at any one point in time. Keep it zero. Because not only does that look good and shows when somebody pulls your report that you're not relying on credit and that you're just leveraging it, it just helps you not run the risk of forgetting about paying something off, incurring interest rates and things like that. So it's just all over. Don't even play the game of trying to finagle and, oh, I'm going to keep this amount on here until this point in time. Just pay it off. Use it one time a month. Pay it off. That's it. Number 2, late payments. Late payments can ding your credit score. There's also a picture that I put up there on my Facebook page, Your Pretty Pennies with Tara Jones. And I think for payment history, it says a B. So all the other parts of my credit history is A, right? And then the B is for payment history. And that's because back in 2014, like a couple years before, I opened my Macy's account in 2009, right? Back when I didn't know what I was doing with money. In 2014, I paid my Macy's bill one day late, completely forgot about it. This is why I talk about do not carry any type of balance, because I completely forgot about paying like this $20 balance on my Macy's card that I had bought a gift for somebody or something. And I forgot to pay it. I paid it one day late and they reported it to the credit bureau, and it showed up as a late payment on my credit report. And so it's 2017, about to be 2018, and it still shows that 2014 I have a B. So technically, if I had that at an A, my credit score could be higher than a 727 right now. But because I missed a payment by one day and they reported it, I have it as a B. So Do not get late payments. Your credit score is so important. The late payments or missed payments is so critical to your credit score. It's the number one thing. Late and missed payments is the number one reason why credit scores are poor, outside of bankruptcy or liens or something like that. Charge-offs. So charge-offs are accounts that were closed in bad standing because you paid to fail what you owe. Oftentimes with my clients, I see charge-offs with like bank accounts where they're overdrafted, but then they never resolved it and kind of forgot about it. Like when they were in college or something, or if they had a credit card back in college and it charged off because no one could get a hold of you, and you weren't, you were at your immature stage and you weren't even thinking about it. And so you didn't think to follow up with them and actually pay it off. And it became a charge-off. That shows up on your credit report and it drops your credit score. Repossessions. Car repossessions. If you are unable to pay your auto loan, technically, when you have an auto loan, if you do not have the title, it's at the bank, and the bank owns that car. So if you stop paying on your auto loan, the bank is going to repossession and take their car back. But not only do they take their car back, you still owe the balance, so they're still coming after you for the balance, and they tack that onto your credit report to where you know that you owe the balance, and it dings your credit score. Bankruptcies. These are extremely negative, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later because I had a question for our Q&A session that talked about bankruptcies and if bankruptcy is her only option. They are extremely negative. They should never be an option unless literally there is no option. They last for 7 to 10 years. It's completely hard to try to recover from them anytime before. It's a nightmare. And it is appropriate for when you are living a financial nightmare. But if you're not, and if you have a job and you're staying afloat, bankruptcy is not your option. Judgments against you. Judgment means like if you go to court for something. I'm going to give you an example. One reason why my credit score got dinged a couple years ago is because I had an accident with a college student and he ran into the back of my car. And I live in Michigan, so it's a no-fault state or whatever. We called the police, we pulled over to the side. It was like a little fender bender. Really wasn't much at all going on with it. I decided that I was just going to report it to my insurance company and let them know that somebody hit me, because he was saying if you would have stopped it, if you would have put your brakes on, or if I did something, he wouldn't have ran in back of me. So he was basically saying, it's my fault. I'm saying, no, you was driving too close. It's snowing out here. You were driving too close. You didn't give yourself enough time to stop. You ran into the back of me, whatever, right? So we ended up going to court. Long story short, he ended up suing me for $900 for his car. And my insurance was like, all right, y'all, we'll cover you. He has insurance. If he has insurance, he'll get covered for his, and we'll leave it at that. So my insurance covered me. His insurance was supposed to cover him. Instead of going to his insurance, instead of reporting it to his insurance, he decided to sue me for the $900 to get his bumper fixed. So my insurance company takes over it and brings it to court. So I had a lawyer who went to the court for me. I didn't go. She went on my behalf, because now it's technically USAA, which is my auto insurance, versus him. So I ended up getting the motion back, and she ended up losing the court case because she didn't represent me well, right? And so it was supposed to be USAA's fault, and they were supposed to take ownership of it because technically USAA took over the judgment or the case for me. But instead it went on my credit report. When I tell you that judgment, it said that the judgment was for $1,000 and it had to be paid to them. It even said that it was paid because the USAA paid them immediately, but it was on my credit report and it dropped my credit report 150 points. So when I say anything, again, that had nothing to do with credit. That had nothing to do with anything. But because it's a judgment against you, you can go for child support. You can go losing a ticket violation case. Whatever it is can go on your credit score, and that will drop your credit score. It's crazy that happens, but it does. So that's something to be aware of. Liens, any type of tax lien. So if you owe taxes and you ain't paying it, they could put a lien on your home, things like that. A lot of hard inquiries. Okay, so let's talk about this. When you open up or when you apply for a line of credit, whether it's a mortgage, an auto loan, student loans, credit card, store card, secured card, unsecured credit card, whatever it is, somebody's going to pull your credit report because you want them to lend you money, right? The way that shows up on your credit report is a hard inquiry. And when you have more than 2 of these per 2 years, it looks like you're credit desperate. And if it looks like you're credit desperate, your credit score is going to go down. And the reason why that is because a low credit score is a red flag to anybody who you want to lend you money that you might be depending on credit. And again, that's against what credit is about. That's against what the U.S. credit system is about. So if you start applying for an all-in-one year, let's say if you're just out of college and you say, oh, I want an auto loan. So you get an auto loan. And then you say, no, I want to buy a home. And then you buy a home. And then you say, no, I do want to go back to school. And then you start pulling out student loans. And then, oh, I need a credit card. And then you apply for a credit card. Your credit score is going to drop dramatically. And then not to mention, you're going to start getting unapproved for stuff because it looks like you don't have the sustainability of income and that you're relying on credit. So that looks terrible. Foreclosures, if you have a foreclosure on your home, extremely negative. Duplicates. This is one thing people don't realize. When you pull your credit score, and after you listen to this in its entirety, if you're just joining, watch the replay, listen to the replay. When you pull your credit report, look to see if the same address or the same job description or same job that the same phone number is listed more than one time, or your name is listed 5 different ways, because for some reason that looks bad on your credit report. I don't know why they do it that way, but you have to take all of those out. So for example, my first apartment was listed 3 different ways. It looks as if I rented like 5 different apartments within 2 years. You see how that can look bad. It looks like you're unstable. It looks like you're moving around and round and round. Again, people look at your credit report, not just your credit score. So you have to be aware of how your credit report comes off and how your credit score comes off. So when you're looking at your credit report, anything that looks like, she's always switching up the spelling of her name, or it looks like she's lived at 8 different addresses in 2 years, you need to say, no, this is just written different ways, but they're the same address. Dispute 3 of them, right? So if it's the same address written 4 different ways, dispute 3 of them and keep one that's appropriate, because that goes a long way. It literally can be the deciding factor between you getting a mortgage loan or not, or somebody wanting you getting a business loan or not, something like that. And debt and collections is the last negative thing that can show up on your account. And what a debt and collections is like something that you owe to a company, but they grew tired of collecting or trying to send you statements in the mail. Hey, pay this. You got to pay this by next month. You got to pay this by next month. And then eventually they say, forget this. I'm going to send this and sell this off to a collection agency. That's what they do all day. They can try to collect this debt. All right. So those are the negative items that can be on your credit report and can negatively impact your credit score. Let's look at the brighter side and talk about some of the positive things that can appear on your credit report and enhance your credit worthiness, enhance the likelihood of you getting approved for that mortgage loan, enhance the likelihood of you having and maintaining a high credit score. Number 1, accurate information. Again, we just talked about that. You better make sure you don't have a bunch of apartments and houses listed under your credit report. That looks terrible. And again, this is your responsibility. Low balances on your lines of credit. So if you have credit cards and you have store cards and things like that, again, make sure that balance is at 0 at all times. Do not wait for the statement to come. Do not try to roll money over and do all this other tricks and whoop. No, just leave them at 0. As soon as you use them, put them at 0. Payments on time. So again, talking about that Macy's account, Macy's does report every month. So one of my credit cards is a store card for Macy's. Macy does report every month to my credit bureau. So for years, since 2009, I think I had it. For years, every month, it'll say whether or not I'm in good. Good is bad, is if you paid on time, and it'll be green. And then yellow would be like, oh, she paid within 30 days. That still drops your credit score a little bit, maybe a couple of points, but not that bad. And then red is if you missed it more than 60 days. Like if you pay over 60 days late, it looks red. Some companies report that way, some do not. Some credit cards report that way, some do not. I have my second credit card is a secured credit card, and it doesn't report at all. It only would report as if I had a bad or a missed payment, or overdue payment. That's the only time it'll report. But it doesn't like report every month to the credit bureau on how well or not I paid that month. So that's something that you can look for in your credit report. Aged accounts. So accounts that have been open for a long time are good. That's why, for this reason is why I still keep my Macy's. I don't shop regularly at Macy's anymore like I used to back when I wasn't financially savvy and wasn't like wealth conscious. I used to always blow money at Macy's. And when they finally offered me that card, I took it, right? So I had that card for a long time. And I don't use it, to be honest. Like if I use it, I will use it during Christmas time. So I use it once a year. And I wouldn't advise this because some cards, if you don't use it for, that long, for once like every 12 months, they'll close it. And that's what I don't want. I don't want that Macy's card to be closed because that's the longest account, the oldest account on my credit report. So I want to keep that open so it looks like I have a long credit history, because the longer your credit history is, the higher your credit score will go, because it's saying like, oh, over time, she has shown that she can handle credit. She can handle debt. She's good for what she says she's good for. So I don't want to close that. So I just use it once a year because they don't ever close my account. However, my secured credit card, I use that once a month or once every other month. I put $20, something that's $20 on there, and I pay it off immediately. Even before I leave the store, I pay it off immediately because, again, I'm going to talk about this in a couple of days. You're using your credit cards as a financial tool, not an extension of your income. So if I don't have the income to pay that off immediately, I don't use my credit card. Literally, when I look at my credit card, it's literally to help me maintain a high credit score. And the reason why I want a high credit score is not to get more credit cards. The reason why I want a high credit score is for the mortgage I'm going to get in the future, for the business deals that I need in the future, for the low interest on those loans that I need in the future, and also to make sure that my auto insurance, my life insurance, all those insurances, they're based on your credit score and your credit report. So the higher your credit report is, the less they'll charge you to get an account with them, to get an insurance policy with them. So that's the reason why I use a credit card. So when I look at my credit card and I see it and I'm using it strategically, in my mind, I think of it as a tool. I do not think of it as, oh, I can put this on my credit card and then pay it off when I get paid. That's not how I think of a credit card. And that's not how you should either. You have to switch it in your mind to say, no, my credit card is a wealth building tool, not a wardrobe building tool, not to buy groceries, not to fill up my car. Oh, I'm just going to put this on my account. I'm just going to put my gym membership on my account. No, do not associate your credit cards with spending. Use it with wealth building and using it as a financial tool. Sorry, I just have to stay there because, our society and our culture has a really big problem with credit cards, and largely because we've seen our parents get it, and largely because they were pushed to us while we was in college and we didn't even know what to do with it. So now I'm really trying to change that mindset of, no, do not use a credit card to spend. That's what they want you to do, right? That DJ Khaled, that's what they want you to do. They want you to be in debt. No, but seriously, no, use it as a financial tool. And if you don't have the income in your account right now to pay off that balance on that credit card, don't touch it. It's not going to close. Again, I use my credit card, my secured card, every other month. And I say, okay, I'm actively knowing that I'm putting $20 on here just so I can keep the credit card open, just so it can report to my account, just so I can have a high credit score. It's not to ball out. It's not to afford a handbag. Like, if I don't have cash at the mall, I don't buy it. Period. Another thing that looks good, a mix of different type of credit lines. So if you have a credit card, if you have a student loan, auto loan, mortgage loan, like just different types of loans, different types of credit cards. So I have one store card, that's a revolving card, and then I have a secured credit card. Those are two different types of cards, right? So just having these, a business line of credit is another revolving account. These things help your credit score. Unfortunately, you have to play like this game, because you don't want to get in the habit of acquiring lines of credit just to have a high credit score, because then you run the risk of financial debt, right? But if you already have them, which most of us do, you might as well use them to the best of your ability, right? So for me, I had in the past an auto loan. In the past, I had student loans. Right now, I have a store card and I have a secured MasterCard. And that's it right now. Yeah, those are the only things. My credit score is really high at a 727 because I have a history of different types of credit. However, if you're just starting out, you might have to play with this a little bit and say, okay, maybe the only lines of credit that I will get. So if this was me, if I'm 28 and I haven't established credit, the only lines of credit that I will get is credit cards to use them as financial tools, and a mortgage loan. And then obviously a business line of credit or something if I'm building a business. Other than that, I wouldn't get it, because anything else would depreciate over time. Those accounts, those loans, they do not increase your net worth. Some argue that student loans increase your net worth because you can buy a degree, and with it, I'm not going to argue that, but what I'm saying is I can't make money off of a student loan payment. I can make money off a mortgage loan because my house will gain equity, right? I can make money off of a business line of credit because I can build my business to where I pay that money back and still have money coming in, passively and actively. You see what I'm saying? So a different mix of lines of credits is really good. And then little to no hard inquiries within the last 2 years. So again, going back to when you're trying to get into the swing of things, you're like, yeah, let me get this credit card, and let me get that loan, and let me pay for this mortgage. Ooh, let me get that auto loan. That looks terrible. So if you have in the last couple of years little to no hard inquiries, that's going to keep increasing your credit report over time, because it's showing the credit bureaus that you do not need credit. You only use it when it's strategic. So right now, the last thing that I applied for was my secured credit card, and that was 2 years ago. So probably right now I have no hard inquiries on my account because they fall off after 2 years. So as of now, like in the last 2 years, I've been in the same place that I've been renting for years. My auto loan, student loan, those are all years and years ago, back in like 2009, 2010. My Macy's card was 2009. You know, the only thing that I've opened recently was my secured credit card. And that's like the only thing. And even in the last 2 years, I haven't applied for anything else. So if I wanted to get a business line of credit, like the likelihood of me getting it is high. If I wanted to apply for a mortgage, the likelihood of me getting it is very high. So we talked about your credit report, what to look for, what looks good, what looks bad. And remember, a good credit report equals a good credit score, right? A bad credit report equals a bad credit score. So that's why I started off with credit reporting and how to analyze it, because people